Well, now that we have our cybersecurity ducks in a row, what about the people that we share our data with? I'm Ann Loricello, and I'm here with Ray and Mitch to talk a little bit more about that. So that's the question. What about these people?
So it used to be that we had all the data inside the four walls of our company, but no company does that anymore.
Right.
You have customer relationship management or CRM systems that are in the cloud. You have just your basic corporate data servers are now at Amazon, at Microsoft, at Google. You know, nobody has the data inside their four walls, not to mention which all of the places where your employees store their data. The problem is that if one of those vendors has a breach, then you're going to get tarred with that brush. For example, the Capital One breach, right? That was the data that was stored at Amazon, and now there's arguments about whether it's Amazon's fault or Capital One's fault.
Right.
Well, you know, who knows what the answer to that is? But the problem wasn't anything inside of Capital One; it was inside of Amazon. So that's why what we call vendor cyber risk management is such an important part of the overall cybersecurity program. You want to talk about VCRM, right?
Yeah, so think about it. You're a lawyer, you're an accountant, you're a medical practice, you're another business, but you have sensitive data. You have data on your patients, your customers, your clients, your intellectual property. You are responsible for a lot of different kinds of data. It's your responsibility as a business. But the nature of the business world today is such that for various reasons, you're going to share that data with other companies. You're going to give them access to that data. Well, let's say there's a breach at the other company. Are you off the hook? No. You're still responsible for that information. If you're a lawyer and you have information on a lawsuit and you've shared that with some other company because they're processing the claim, doing something on it for you, and there's a breach, you are still on the hook for this. So what can be done about that? Well, another component of a cybersecurity program is the Vendor Cyber Risk Management Program, VCRM for short. And this is a program where basically what you're doing is if you're going to share the data, and so you've got to make a list of everyone you're sharing data with, right? You got to go, here's our data, we're sharing it with this, we're sharing, okay, great, you're sharing it, and you've got to, there's a valid reason, but who is it? And then when you're doing that, you have got to at least ask them the question, hey, by the way, we all know we're sharing some pretty sensitive data here with you. How are you protecting that data? Just exactly what are you doing over there? Well, then you get the questions. It shows that you're doing due diligence. You cared about your client's data in the first place to ask the vendors you're sharing it with what they were doing. That's part of a program. That's part of the VCRM.
Now, a couple of things. One is under certain state laws and under various regulations, for example, if you're a financial institution, you are required to go off and make sure that your vendors can protect the data. If you are doing business in Colorado, any business, mom and pop all the way up to mega company, you are required to make sure that the companies that you share data with can protect that data before you share it. Now we use this term sharing. That's a very broad term. That doesn't mean that you are like selling the data. It means that you're using some third party. Some third party has the data on their systems rather than on your system. So that's a very broad definition of sharing. So don't say, well, we don't sell our data, so this doesn't apply. Yeah, it absolutely does apply to you. And absolutely, if there's a breach, the lawyers are going to sue everybody and anybody, and then you're going to have to figure out why it is you think you're not a party to the lawsuit.
Here's a good example. Cybersecurity LLC. We specialize in various business sectors. One of them, an important one, is the mortgage lending industry. Okay? So you go out and get a mortgage to get a house, right? You give them everything you've got, okay? I mean, everything. They get it all. I don't need to make a list. You already know this, okay? They have this information. They're responsible for it. Are they protecting it? Maybe. But anyway, I can tell you, in the industry, they share that data. They have to. They have to share it with various other enterprises. Now, Mitch, my partner, who I've my exalted partner in our CISO, Mitch was in the mortgage lending space for 20 years. So I mean, he knows this technology, he knows also. Mitch, who are some of the people that mortgage lenders share their data with?
Well, for example, you're going to go off and get data from a credit bureau because you have to know whether the person is credit worthy. You're going to go off and ask about whether or not the property is in a floodplain. You're going to ask a title company about whether or not the house is inside of who owns the house, rather, what the ownership is and what the current encumbrances are. You're gonna share the data with a settlement agent who's actually going to walk you through signing the papers. There's investors and potential investors who might buy the mortgage after you close it. There's a company who services that loan for whoever owns it. So there's all these, and that's only a really small subset of the people that they're sharing data with.
So they're going to take your data, your information in your loan application, all your sensitive stuff, and start giving chunks of this out to these other people so they can do their job, legitimately do their jobs, which must be done.
But what you want to do is you want to go ask these companies, okay, show me your written keyword incident response program, or information security program, or disaster recovery program, or business continuity program, or what am I doing for training my employees? Right. You want to ask them all these questions, and you want evidence that they're really doing that.
And when he says you, he means the mortgage lender. The mortgage lender should be asking these third-party vendors,
or
what about these things? Or any business that you're sharing it with, right? Or any now we're using the mortgage lender as an example right here, but any business. If you're sharing information, if you're sharing data from your company, you've got to be doing this. You have to have your own VCRM and share it. So, like Ann said, you get your own ducks in a row, that's great, but what about your vendors? What to do about that?
So bottom line, it's not just enough to be protecting our own data. We have to make sure that the vendor we're sharing with is also protecting that data.
That's right.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. So if you'd like more tips, go to their YouTube page or visit cybersecurity.com, and make sure to note that security is spelled with a C.